Hello there, welcome back to Qart-Hadasht lore and our Carthage Let's Play, R2 DEI. Right now we're fighting and continuing our last part and fighting, having fought the battle outside of Qart-Hadasht. This is the replay, of course. We'll see what happens here. As we can see, when the Midians are almost about to square off with the enemy cavalry, it's their general, Arios Sepones, heavy Iberian cavalry. The javelin volley there. And the Numidians run. Run like the wind.
Run like chickens!
As they throw their javelins.
Get away from us! Get away from us!
I think it's kind of a Numidian tactic though, to try to go right up the enemy's face, lure their cavalry away and just keep throwing your javelins at them.
It still kind of makes them look like little chickens.
Well, the whole point of the Numidians is that they are light, so they're not exactly meant to be able to take on cavalry so easily. Heavier cavalry so easily.
I guess.
Here you see the enemy reinforcements coming, which is mainly the town garrison. So not very powerful. But yeah, so try and move my army up, try and meet them. As you can see, I was focusing on admiring them so much that I wasn't looking at what my forces were doing in this replay.
So what kind of strategy does the enemy utilize exactly?
Well, in this case, the AI is just doing what the AI does, which is being brain dead. Total War is not known for a very smart AI, so I think it's trying to meet up its forces. As we can see, the general there is trying to meet up with the rest of the army. The AI usually likes to do this, is trying to get its forces to converge into one large force.
Yeah, I get that, but I would assume that in real life they would have had some sort of strategy to...
in reality, sure, but this is Total War games. The AI is not exactly able to do that many smart things a lot of the time. And DEI
sure,
can't...
you would think Creative Assembly would be great at AI at this point, but with Alien Isolation.
Well, I'm sure that's probably a different type of AI than, you know, Total War AI. And it's hard-coded so the DEI devs can't directly affect it. They can make tweaks that can influence AI behaviour, like what they did with cavalry.
I suppose.
But that's all they can do, so it's the best they can do. The AI is trying to merge up to make its force all large and it just seems to kind of be rushing at me whilst I'm trying to get my forces together, but they're quite slow moving. See, if you notice, the hoplites are the slowest ones moving.
Yeah, I did notice that actually.
Yeah, they are very slow moving. Even slower when they're in their phalanx formation. My slingers are attacking the Iberian townsfolk, which is handy.
Are they using slingers?
The Iberians?
No, our forces.
Yes, we have Balearic slingers.
Balearic slingers, right, okay.
Some of the best slingers probably the Mediterranean.
Let me guess. Swords, let me guess. Stones, pebbles, and lead. Is that right?
Lead bullets, stones, stuff like that. They were famous for their skills with the sling.
Is that literally all they ever used, though? They never used anything else?
As ranged weapons, pretty much they were known for slinging.
No, but what I meant is, like, were stones, pebbles, and lead the only thing they ever slung, or did they ever slung anything else aside from them?
I think for the most part, when it comes to ammunition for slingers, you're going to primarily be relying on stones, and you have access to them like lead bullets and stuff. Maybe other materials, but those are the main ones. You're probably not going to be using pebbles, probably decently sized rocks. Yeah, and getting knocked over.
Well, it looks as though they're either retreating or just like moving
trying to get
sideways.
into position. They're just getting in position. Like I try here, right up close. And my hoplites are getting into position, which is good. What I'm generally trying to get to do is the AI to try and charge in, because that works best for me with my hoplites.
Okay.
Because they go into a phalanx, they can endure an enemy attack. So that's what I'm trying to do, is sort of trigger them to attack and charge. And their general's rushing towards my Qart-Hadasht, it looks like. So I move my Carisi in. Yep. And so we see the skirmishing phase continues somewhat. And I think my hoplites are in their phalanx formation now. As I'm rushing up my Ligurians. And the general's losing. And so the melee brawls begun. My Ligurians are attacking and defeating the townsfolk.
Are they both pretty light on weaponry?
Well, the townsfolk basically have nothing. They have like
yeah, but then you
daggers.
mentioned earlier that your team, what were they called again?
The Balearic Singers.
Well, like your Valerians or whatever.
Balearic Singers, because they're from the Balearic Islands.
I think you mentioned earlier that they were pretty light on weapons themselves.
Well, they would have relied on the sling as their main primary weapon. If they had to get into a melee fight, they'd have a sword and a shield.
Oh, okay then.
But they wouldn't be very good fighters. They're not meant for melee combat.
Well, I mean, like the townsfolk.
The townsfolk,
many
they
sturdy weapons themselves.
Oh
so
no,
I guess
they just have like little sticks and stones and daggers and whatever.
Yeah, I guess that
Clubs.
evens out.
So they're not exactly good townsfolk. They're not meant to be. In my experience, those types of units are probably okay at like attacking weak skirmishers in melee, and maybe rear charging enemies to wear their morale out. As you see, the melee brawls begun and my melee infantry is fighting. So we got my Qart-Hadasht there fighting. My cavalry's moving around. The enemy's beginning to break, a lot of their troops are. And my hoplites are engaging. So it's going pretty well, I like to think. And those slingers are being defeated by my cavalry. The Ligurians are fighting there. They're pretty good troops, the Ligurians.
How so?
They're solid, sturdy spearmen. You know, they've got good stats. The one weakness, they just don't have javelins. Because most of my troops, bar the hoplites, have javelins they get to throw.
Is it me, or did they just look as though they're talking down there and not actually fighting?
As we already talked about the last part, it's the animation limitations. You have it
I know,
2 units fight.
Especially jarring,
A lot of the spare guys just kind of move and yell.
It just seems especially jarring when you see it up close.
I suppose, but you get used to it. If you're used to Total War.
I guess.
Yeah, so that looks like that side is beginning to crumble. Hoplites are holding firm against their troops. And yeah, it's going well. Oh, my Carisi's wavering.
Suspense.
And my Qart-Hadasht and Gallic swords are fighting those spearmen. And here's my Scutari.
What kind of spears were they?
The Iberian spearmen.
Yeah.
Just some light, simple spearmen. Nothing special about them. Like, it's just their simple garrison troops in this case. So when I say Iberian spearmen, because that's just their garrison troops, but I don't know what kind of spears Iberians would have used compared to like other people groups. The only particular weapons I know the Iberians utilised, interesting weapons, were the falcata sword, the how do you might call it, a short thrusting sword that the Romans adopted as their gladius, and they had an all iron javelin called a soluferum. And those are the main weapons I know that Iberians used. I don't know anything special about their spears though.
Well, looks like they're retreating.
It looks like they're beginning to rout. And I think that's my cavalry rushing in. Might be the Numidians. Not sure, can't tell. No, that's my general. Thought they looked a little bit heavy. My general's charging in on them, rout breaking them. So this one I'm doing a lot more active routing phase. So I usually spend a while having my troops just kind of pick off the enemy stragglers. Can be fun to watch though.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Especially when you go right in close and look at the infantry and just see them slaughtering guys. It is satisfying to watch.
It's satisfying to watch death and destruction from afar.
Or up close. But yeah, and that's the end result there. That's what's left of them. My army took minimal casualties. Fairly minimal, light casualties. Now it's my turn. Tincus is under siege. Wonder why that's under siege now. Just have to wait and see. And so I auto-resolve. Because there's no point fighting it out, they're destroyed. And so I occupy
they're not even
Qart-Hadasht.
worth the trouble.
Then I turn off taxes to stabilise the region. And I begin converting.
No taxes means no money.
Yeah, well I have only making a fair bit of cash elsewhere.
Screw that, always go for more.
Yeah, so the Qart-Hadasht besieging Tingis. And I was not bothered to fight it out, so I auto-resolved.
Not worth the bother.
Which, in hindsight, probably wasn't the wisest move. As you'll see eventually, as we'll all see eventually, was not the wisest move in hindsight. Because what happens when I get lazy.
Anything else?
Got some water there. So yeah, military traditions, sorting those out. Always quite handy to pick up your troops. Then I rush Gadir and I auto-resolve that. So I take Gadir off Qart-Hadasht. My general gets rank up. And so yeah, begin to convert the settlement and I take replenishment. I disband those mercenaries to save some money.
Who are you going to replace them with?
Well, at the moment, nothing. This army doesn't really get much. I just disband the mercenaries so I can save myself some money now. I don't think I need them.
Okay.
Which is another one of those, perhaps, hindsight mistakes.
Let me guess, you leave yourself a little bit defenseless there?
Kinda, yeah. And this is where I talked about the Lusitani. Well, I don't know, I think I've mentioned the Lusitani before becoming a potential problem. So, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. The Arvaki are right there against Arse. So I was going to move my governor there. So it looks like I pick out a new general. Halko and the Handanids. Give the Sacred Band bodyguard.
What does a Halko general do?
Well, Halko is his name.
Oh, never mind. Never mind me. That's just me acting like a dumbass again.
Yes. So we see it. Looking at the political. As the Hananids, they do not like me. As we can see, they're minus 13 loyalty. Should keep an eye on that. Now we see my spy out and about.
Does he actually do some spying for once?
Well, at the moment, he's just in friendly territory, so
Ready for battle.
I can't recruit any mercs at the moment. Don't have the money. Now, with the cash, I begin to recruit some Libyan Phoenician mercenary hoplites. And I grab Scutari. They're good troops to help defend.
Yeah, I suppose.
Well, hoplites are always useful for defense. Because, you know, phalanx formation.
We fight for you, my lord.
So, 2 more turns till I get that barracks.
Thirsty for battle.
That's true, but are you thirsty for blood?
Journey completed.
Move them out of Qart-Hadasht to help public order a little bit, and to move them out to fight the remnants of the Tirtani. And decide to keep the taxes as they are. So I have an edict I can address. Corsica and Sardinia. So it looks like I go for commercial stimulation, possibly. No, I go for tax harvesting.
Ooh.
And the Arvaki attack Arse. So I have to defend Arse now from the Arvaki forces.
You're gonna defend Arse now. Okay.
Yep. So you see how you quick save. Always quick save before a battle. You don't know what might happen. And so here we are, the defense of Arse.
Arse sounds more appealing.
Yeah, well, I try to at least be kind of correct in pronunciation. So yeah, all my hoplite type troops are there. So you have to always figure where the hell is the AI going to attack from.
Sure, you can never know these things.
More or less. You just have to hope they'll go the direction you want them to go to.
Why, where were you hoping they'd come from?
I'd hope they'd attack my hoplites. I think they split their force in 2. As we can see. So that means roughly half of them are going to attack one side and the other half the other. Which isn't really great for me.
How so?
Because the other half does not have nearly as good troops. It's just got those Libyan spearmen. Or whatever they're called to defend. With my Scutari.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'd say you're royally screwed.
Maybe not royally. My hoplites are good, but I just have those Libyan spears and it's getting somewhat tougher troops, so... probably isn't going to go too well. And of course I barely remember what actually... I don't remember the specifics of what transpired, so this is all... I suppose in one way is fresh. Yeah, they keep hurling javelins.
Ouch.
Yep, including on my Sacred Band. I think they're aiming almost exclusively for them. Yeah. They're becoming rather pin-cushioned. Yep. Casualties are mounting. And now the enemy is charged. I get my Libyan javelin men to throw their javelins. And here we go. Birkanatoi. Birkantioi, and something like that. They're Celtiberian champions.
So they're putting up a good fight, I'll give them that.
Well, it looks more like they're probably slaughtering my Libyan spears. Yeah, they're winning decisively. So, they're much stronger than my Libyan spearmen.
Just like I said, royally screwed.
So sending my Scutari in. Prepare to be ready to fight them. So yeah. Bit of a bloodbath, eh? And my Scutari have charged. Those are some light troops. Those are pretty naked. Just because they're naked though doesn't mean they're weaklings. Probably going to be very tough. Usually a lot of those naked troops are. Naked tribal units are very tough. So we go back to this side. Big
So
pile.
basically, nude soldiers equals death.
Kinda, yeah. Because if you're willing to fight naked, it means you probably are something. You're probably not just an Egypt with a death wish. You're probably a little bit tougher than that. So I'm going to move my troops up. And my other spearmen there are basically beginning to rout. About to rout, they're wavering. Redistributed Resources, the painted warriors.
So it's not so much a bloodbath as it is just a massacre.
And the spearmen routed. That was just my Scutari. The Mezukenoi. So my remaining spearmen are rushing there. Let's see here, looks like their infantry is beginning to engage. And they're beginning to engage my hoplites.
Sure, you could almost call it a rave if it wasn't for all the death and destruction happening around them.
Yes, you certainly have a wonderful way of looking at things, don't you, Icarix? Yeah, and it looks like they're beginning to rush my Libyan townsfolk in to help. Which not like they'll be able to do anything, but, you know. Yeah, I think the whole time I forgot those boats. Yeah, the naval units, the naval garrison, totally forgot about them. Not like they would have helped.
Shame you.
Well, it's not like they would have helped in any real way. They're just simple Libyan javelin men, but fewer. And my Scutari are losing. And the Tortoy. Yeah, Celtiberian youth skirmishers. And they fight with spears. So they're actually not bad at melee.
Still, they're pretty weak spears.
Well, they're javelin men, so they only fight with spears as their weapon if they had to get into close quarters combat. And here we go, I'm moving my Carthaginian militia there to see could I probably do something with them. Oh yeah, it's getting pretty laggy there, because it's just a huge blob. That happens a lot. If there's a big blob, it just gets terrible for the game to handle. Yeah, speeding up a bit. Yeah, they're winning.
So that's what happens when you put all those people in one place. Everything crashes.
Yeah, tell me that. Get crashes every so often in DEI, that's why you try to quick save every time. So yeah, I'm now finally moving those Libyan javelin men over.
Sure, it's the kind of game that just creates excuses to add more shit.
It's the kind of game that was a disaster at launch. Yeah, you remember AC Unity? Something like that. Since you're a big Assassin's Creed fan, best to use a familiar reference.
I'm gonna assume that Total War didn't need like 140 gigabyte patch in order to fix all the issues.
Well, let's just say this game has over 20 patches over the years it came out. So, there certainly it was a very buggy mess when it came out. So you see them just cheering, it looks like.
Just jogging along at a nice pace.
So here we go. Yeah, still a little while to go, of course, but it's not going well, basically.
Sure, the battle was doomed from the start.
Possibly. If they all attacked, if they did as I wanted and probably all attacked on the side where my hoplites were, I might have had a chance. Because if they all engaged the hoplites and all just focused their forces in that area, I could have moved those lighter troops, the Skitarii, the spearmen, etc., move them around and rear charge the enemy. And then I might have been able to break them and win. That was, I think, what I was banking on. But, because it's a common enough tactic I do that works a lot of the time. But unfortunately, what I didn't expect was that they'd split their force almost evenly in two.
Sure, you win some, you lose some. Nothing you can do.
Yeah, I did this early stage. There are quite a few lose sums. As you see, these guys are beginning to move in. Soon enough, I think this is my javelin men beginning to move in.
Charge!
Yeah, they're not going to do any good. But going to do the best I can just to stall.
You do your best to prolong the inevitable.
Pretty much. Yeah, the militia somehow got that far. I don't think I was paying attention. They just moved quite a bit away and then they got stuck.
Sure, you gotta pay attention to these things, man.
I know. Not paying attention has kind of been the death of me sometimes in this campaign.
Sure, this is war. You can never keep your eyes closed, even for a single second, Kunagusis.
Well, you live and you learn. Now, you see the last of my spearmen holding out, and my javelins. Yes, I read the names of the Carthaginian units are in Hebrew, which I found somewhat surprising. I thought they used Punic, but apparently it's just easier to use Hebrew than Punic.
I suppose.
Well, apparently there's not like that much difference apparently between the two. They're very similar, they're very closely related languages. So, as you see, my hoplites are holding and doing the best they can.
For as long as they hold out, it's still not enough.
So I can't exactly getting any nice shots because it's just too laggy. So do what I can, but it's a bit too intense to get good close-ups. So I have to make do with the best I can.
Every man for himself.
Oh look, my Libyan spearman broke. And my Libyan gentlemen are, well, losing decisively.
Every man for himself. Ah!
My sacred band's exhausted. Which isn't very good. Stamina's quite important in DEI. What a pile of bodies there.
Okay, now it's starting to look like a bloodbath now.
So yeah, as you see, my poor Libyans having no hope in hell against that onslaught.
Que disaster.
Yeah. So we'll soon meet the inevitable. Yeah, I'm kind of glad that I eventually turned off slower battle submod.
Sure, if it lags along at this pace, yeah, you probably should be.
It ain't really the lag. It's just the fact of pure battle speed and everything. Sometimes it's nice when a battle's nice and quick enough. And DEI battles are already pretty slow. But yeah, Sacred Band doing the best they can.
It's still not enough.
Yeah, without those rich dudes can handle everything. Yeah, so soon enough. But yeah. And so we see an exercise in futility. Yeah, looks like the Libby Phoenician hoplites and other militia are beginning to break. Yeah, they're all wavering now. So this is going to be the end. And we'll soon have to call it a day. Don't we?
My name is Icarix.
I'm Kinagusis.
And we'll see you in the next video.